Hi, this is Ed again. Continuing about my first introduction experience of self-forgiveness. Now, this depression, disgust, disappointment, anger I experienced, I couldn't rub out, I couldn't avoid, I couldn't escape, I couldn't die from, I couldn't ignore, because in the dimensions you become that entire experience of who you are completely. I mean, it becomes you. It's not even it's not in separation of you, because it is your very being. And I became more frustrated because there was no other way to assist myself but to apply self-forgiveness. And in that self-forgiveness, self-honesty. And as I've said before, it was extremely, extensively, way beyond difficult for me, because as I've said, you see what you have done, not only to yourself but to others, and you even also experience that within you. Consequences of your nature, the consequences of your very being, of who you were on earth. You experience within you, and also what you have done unto others as yourself. It is literally interesting that we think and believe that what we do will have no effect on anything or anyone, existing in absolute, complete ignorance. In the principle of oneness and equality, you experience that which you do unto others. And I did. And when I looked at myself, I went, how, excuse my language, how the fuck am I supposed to forgive myself? How? The how, I realize, is quite simple. You start. So I began with, I forgive myself that I've allowed myself to not want to apply self-forgiveness, because I believe that I must be punished and condemned into an infinite hell of my own experience to pay for what I have done. And my first self-forgiveness statement was all self-judgment based, like completely, entirely self-judgment. Even in my very self-forgiveness sentences, I was judging myself. That I started noticing after a while, because what I was experiencing within me was I was just becoming more and more aggravated within myself. And I went crazy. I literally went insane. Because I really felt like scum, like shit. Like, Ed, you don't deserve to exist after what you have done. I really wanted to find methods to just not exist. I just didn't want to face myself. I didn't want to anymore see what I had done, what I'm still doing in that moment of my experience. And eventually I really looked at myself and I said, Ed, have a look. You see what you have done. this is what you have become. You did this. You see it. It is here. You experience it. This is you at this moment. And if I continue to participate in this very experience of myself at this moment now, refusing to do self-forgiveness, because I basically refuse to do self-forgiveness, because I refuse to do self-forgiveness out of the fear of what I might realize about me. Because when you do self-forgiveness, in that self-forgiveness, you really actually open up yourself and actually see yourself directly. And I was shit scared of that. I was so afraid. Even though I could already see everything else of me that I have done within me and towards others as myself, there was more. And that's where self-honesty comes in. Because in applying self-forgiveness, you have to be self-honest with you from the perspective of taking that point of self-responsibility for what you have accepted and allowed. And together with self-responsibility, that's where self-forgiveness comes in, because you're taking self-responsibility for you by being self-honest with you in that, as yourself, in that moment, and really understanding and seeing, what you have done and become. Because I realize it's not that it goes away. It doesn't. You're always with all of you. But the difference comes in where, in me applying self-forgiveness together with self-honesty and at every single point, in every single moment, is that I will not do it again. I will not accept and allow myself to participate in such horrific designs, placements, constructs, perceptions, ideas of me again. I will not, because I in that moment have stood up within me. I've taken responsibility for me. I have applied effective self-forgiveness for me. I was self-honest in that moment for me, as me, and that stays with you as yourself, absolutely. That's where my certainty of me originated from, me realizing for myself that in applying my self-forgiveness effectively, in absolute self-honesty, in that taking self-responsibility for me, I will not do it again. And I will walk through everything that I have accepted and allowed, knowing, being the very existence of me as not again participating in such horrific applications, because they are horrific. The mind that we have created is horrific. Alright, this is Ed. We've got 9 minutes on the clock, so thank you very much for being here.